Is Google Playables the new Stadia 2.0? Stadia 2.0, you say? Let's go! Yeah, probably not. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at some interesting reports that Google is testing a new feature on YouTube called Playables. This will let users play basic games directly via the YouTube app and a website. Sounds familiar. Hence all those clickbait titles saying Stadia 2.0 question mark. Hence that's why I put it on the thumbnail. So could this really be Stadia 2.0? Now, Stadia, if you don't remember, was Google's failed game streaming service that shut down at the beginning of this year. And as many people know, I was a massive fan of Stadia. Look, I was disappointed when it closed. But let's take a closer look at what we know about this Google Playables so far and see if it will actually bring cloud gaming back to Google. So here's a quick overview of what we know about Playables. There's going to be a new section on YouTube to play casual games, okay? Casual games, that's the key here, like Stack Bounce, which I believe is the game that they're testing without any need to download. Now, it's odd that they're using Stack Bounce because it has a really low rating on Google Play, but there you go. They're testing this with a small number of users so far. TechCrunch and Wall Street Journal reported on this back in June, so it's been in development for quite a few months. And apparently the games load really fast, just like Stadia. Now, look, don't get me wrong, whatever the bad press around Stadia, the one thing about Stadia was the tech, and it worked. Despite what you might have heard, it worked, and it worked really well. And we know cloud gaming works really well. I've got GeForce Now Ultimate, and trust me, it is stunning. But Stadia tech at the time was the cutting edge, and it was really, really good. It was just, unfortunately, everything else around it that kind of tripped it up. Currently, that looks like they're using Stack Bounce, and there'll be other sort of titles that are super simple and casual games. So not big AAA game titles, more like mobile games and Google's Game Snack service. Now, we don't know for sure what tech they're using and whether this is any sort of leftover tech from Stadia, but just focused on these bite-sized games rather than those full AAA console and PC titles. Now, this is nothing new. We've seen Netflix and TikTok and others exploring integrating games into their video apps, and this seems to be a trend. And certainly with Netflix, which seems an obvious company to start going into game streaming since they are the Netflix of Netflix, would make sense if they became the Netflix of gaming. And they certainly started, but with mobile games and casual games. And yet, we know now that they are also heavily investing in AAA games in the future. So it seems to be that's the direction that Netflix is going, but starting off with those small mobile and casual games. But the question, of course, is, will people really want to play games on YouTube? Well, the thing is, remember, Stadia's original vision, before it was even launched, was the idea that it was just a link you clicked. It was just a clickable link.
Imagine you are watching games on YouTube and you discover the latest Assassin's Creed Odyssey trailer on Ubisoft's official channel on YouTube. You will notice the Play Now button. By simply clicking on that button, the player is brought directly into the game in a browser in as quick as 5 seconds.
And that could be on YouTube. In fact, Stadia integrated some functionality into YouTube so that you could stream the game, and then your streamers on YouTube could click some buttons, either instantly jump into that game, so effectively a button that was a link would allow them to jump in if that game was co-op, or even vote on decisions for you to make in that game. So we already know that Google have the technology to integrate a gaming service within YouTube. And as I said, Stadia was just a link, just as Phil Harrison said back at E3 in June 2019, before the public launch of Google.
On Stadia, a game is just a link, right? And so whether you discover that game through our store or the publisher's store or Twitter or Facebook or Discord or whatever channel.
So, oddly enough, this concept wasn't actually pushed by Stadia at launch. I mean, unfortunately, and it wasn't until another 2 years before they started focusing some of the marketing around this kind of, sharing a link or making it easy to share links to games. You could do it at the beginning, but it was quite complicated. But yeah, as the service began to sort of dwindle or was on its slope to final kind of annihilation, they did focus around the brilliant concept of being able to share links and, allowing publishers to share links. But by then, as I said, the Stadia service was clearly so far down the slope of no return that it was a case of too little, too late. So the question is, with Google Playables, will this go anywhere? Or like Stadia and Google Glass and all those Google Graveyard claims, go the way of Google Graveyard? But bear in mind, recently we had Sean Layden, ex-executive of Sony, say Google is still a threat to the gaming industry. And as I mentioned earlier, Netflix have started with casual mobile games, but they're also investing in their own AAA games. And even Apple, with Apple Arcade, which had those sort of mobile casual games on their game service, are now moving to make more AAA games available on their brand new iPhone 15. So maybe Google and Stadia was just ahead of its time. As I said, there's no denying the technology was great. It was incredible. Really, really good. But maybe they needed to take customers via baby steps. Maybe just kind of launching with massive AAA games on a format, cloud gaming, in which people were a bit skeptical or unsure or unfamiliar with. We know how gamers like the familiar. Maybe that was just too much of a big step. Maybe building up with casual games and then slowly building towards AAA could have been a solution. Who knows? So, as I said, is Playables a return of Stadia? Well, right now it doesn't seem likely, and it doesn't seem like it is really. The games are totally different, and the tech may be scaled down a lot. Maybe even new tech, knowing Google, probably a different department, has reinvented the wheel, as it were. But it shows Google still has an interest in gaming and wants to leverage YouTube's audience. Many people have said to me that, Google with Stadia missed an open goal with the opportunity of being able to exploit Stadia via YouTube. This idea that you could have a game trailer on YouTube and then you click a button and you can play that game straight away. That was very much in their marketing when they launched the concept of Stadia. I think Playables has some potential if it focuses on hyper-casual games that appeal to YouTube viewers already watching game content. But Google will need to commit to it long-term and get some hit games on board. And there'll still be skepticism in the way that Google were very quick to basically put Google Stadia out of its misery, when many of us thought they should have just kept going, but on the low. Anyway, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. No, I don't really think it's Stadia 2.0, but you wouldn't have clicked this video otherwise. Let me know what you think about Playables and the potential of it. And if you've got to give it a try, are you one of those lucky people that have had an opportunity to try it? And if you like this video, then please hit the likes, because I like it. YouTube likes it, and it helps people like you find content like this. And if you are new to my channel, then please, I do loads of analysis on gaming tech and cloud gaming. So why don't you hit that subscribe button, toggle that notification bell, and that way you'll know when I go live with content just like this. And talking of content just like this, why don't you check out the videos right here? And I'll just get back to remembering Stadia.